horses in various different ways. So I work with a real-life horse in mainly through that work with bodywork and hoof work, and then I also work with representation of the horse, and this I mostly do through photography. I'm educated a fine artist, and I also got art history. So the representation of horse, the horse. So you could say I work around the body of the horse in various ways. I think that we don't really see things as they are, and that we don't see very much at all. So there's actually a huge amount of things around the horse that we cannot see, and that our naked eye cannot see. And that the equine culture is very preoccupied with naked eye observation without documentation. So I think this is a really important aspect, that we see things differently. There is a lot that we simply cannot see, and that documentation and using technical aids such as the camera is really important. Trying to understand the 5 domains and deepen our understanding of the 5 domains and how we could use them. I think I really like the structure that you get, this sort of that 4 of the domains are about documentation and collecting evidence. I think that is, and then you move into the more, perhaps the more interpretive and open and subjective way you play around. So I quite like that aspect of it. It's tempting to say that that riding and training methods and elite sport is a real welfare issue. But I actually also think that, for example, boxing, a lot of horses basically live in cages for most of their life. I also think, that restricting movement through various hoof practices, so nailing on horseshoes, that's also a welfare issue. And it's not many people who talk about that. So I think we have lived for very many thousands of years together with horses without really understanding what stressed horses look like. Or if we have not understood that they are stressed, we have not dealt with it as if they are stressed. So I think this is really important to learn to bring this in, because I do think, I hate to say it, but I do think we are surrounded by very stressed horses that are never recognized as such. I have this kind of thing that I don't know if we really know who horses are. So if you give them the choice and chance, who would they be? And I do think horses are very misrepresented, and I do believe in, it's a bit difficult to say things like this, but I do believe in beings being allowed to be themselves. And horses have lived in our lives and very constructed through our lives, and we construct them. So we're very unsure about who they are. So I like to keep a very, very open approach to what they may be perceiving or how they see the world. I do try, even though a camera does construct a vision and it is very constructed, but I do try to, by following and observing them and photographing them, to all the time trying to understand a little bit more who they are and how they think. I think the horse world today is actually very international, and I certainly operate in a very international space.
Okay, yeah.
And I think, if you're going to get enough of a community that is interested in, for example, welfare, it is an international community. Okay. So what I do, which I suppose is different from maybe many others, there are other people, is I use the camera.
Yeah.
And by using the camera, our perception, we can occasionally just catch glimpses of something, but we can't go back and look at it.
No.
So it becomes a guesswork. Did I see that? Did I not see that? Nah, probably not. So I think actually people should use their mobile phones and other camera equipment much more, and actually with the intention, if you can't really see something, take a photo, take a video, and then sit down and really look at it.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's things like, a lot of people are, I know, but does your horse toe land or heel land?
Yeah.
Our phones are really good at showing that in slow motion.
Okay.
Vet here who presented about mouth lesions, they use cameras to look into the horse's mouth because it goes so fast and you don't get to see, and the horse, so you film it and then you. So I think that is use photography. I think that social license is an issue of perception. That I think equitation science is being pulled in different directions, and I don't think I'm a believer that things do exist in a social and come across in a social context, and I think that is going to be a lot more of should be a bigger issue. Is this? It sounds maybe a bit dramatic to say, but there is a kind of welfare war going on, and people are being tugged. And people don't quite know where they're coming down and what they're going to do. And I think we're going to see a lot of things, for example, a lot of science that maybe the intention is to bring it forward for one reason and then it gets used for another reason. I think it's going to be very complicated and quite messy in the future.
Cool.
I think what's really important to understand is because we think differently and see the world differently, we perceive it differently.
Yeah.
We also see horses very differently and have different concepts of horses, and we deal with almost different kind of horses.
Yeah.
And I think conferences or meetings like this is really good to try to sort of understand the horse from different perspectives, and that's why it's kind of really important to really try to meet and to listen and try to see, even though it's not very easy.
No.
I think you can see the world through many different ways, and I think when you see the world, it's really hard to understand how someone else is seeing the world in a different way because we can't see it. So if you never meet anyone else who sees the world in a different way, then it's very difficult to understand that, yes, it is true, you do actually see things in different ways. So I think through meeting, it is quite, it's very, very nice to really try to understand how someone else sees it differently. And of course the reward with that is that you get different knowledge, which otherwise is hard for you to access.